They're your friends. That's why they're here. Alachua is a special place. You're very fortunate to live in this hot part of Florida. Besides this temperature, it's just, the association is fantastic. It's going to get there, but I have a plan. Let's see if Krishna permits. Well, I plan to visit again in August. And we're going to have to select places that have AC. And I had lunch today with Tamahar Prabhu. Probably some of you haven't seen Tamahar Prabhu in a while because he's been kind of out of commission with his health. But let's see what Krishna permits, but we may do a seminar together when I come back in August. He's going to select it, and I'm going to do something that's complementary to what he selects. But he's really into Jiva Goswami. Before it was Bhakti Sandarbha, and lately it's Krishna Sandarbha, and no, those are the two he's been immersed in. And, you know, Super Soul, let's see, spin the dial, and Super Soul put something on the dial, and then I'll find something that complements. That's, you know, and who knows, we may not even be around. But we have to have a plan, and if Krishna permits the plan, we'll have a little party in August. August in Alachua. Yummy. But we'll be back with you. That's if Krishna permits. Let's see. So this is part 2. And some of you weren't with us for part 1. But one of the topics that we discussed with part 1 was the past life of Prahlada Maharaj. Like, you know, when Prahlada Maharaj was in the womb of Kayadu, Narada understood this, well, he was a great soul or a devotee. So who was Prahlad before he was Prahlad? That was one of the discussions. And I chose a verse to speak on this morning. I wasn't at the temple, I was doing a home program class, Bhagavatam class. Canto 7, Chapter 10, text number 3, explicitly, because we discussed it at length, he was sent. Prahlad says to Lord Nrsingadev, I was sent by you to teach the way of pure devotional service. And then in the purport, Prabhupada is very explicit. Nityabadha Nityasiddha, Nityasiddha, Sadhana Siddha. So Prahlad is in the category of sadhana, Nityasiddha. So he's from Vaikuntha, sent to this realm to teach the way of pure devotional service. However, as you see on the screen, Hari Bhakti Vilas has a different description, and hopefully you have received a document that has a misspelling in the title of the document. It's supposed to say previous life, and it says previous life, but it's meant to be previous life. And it's a quote from, the translation is from Brihan Narasingha Purana, quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas, and elsewhere it's indicated that's where it's from, and Hari Bhakti Vilas quotes it, and the narration of Prahlad's previous life goes like this. At the beginning of the section is Prahlad asked Lord Nrsingadev, how did I become your devotee? And then Nrsingadev says, in your previous life you were a brahmana, And then the details of his life. A Brahmana that didn't study anything. He didn't have the lakshanas. He didn't have he was Brahmana by birth, but not only he avoided studying, but he did bad stuff. And one of the bad things he did is very much like the Ajamila story, born in a Brahmin family, but he made association with a prostitute. And, they did stuff together that a man and a prostitute will do together. And one fine day, the Shringa Chaturdasi day, they got in a quarrel. And he was really upset and she was really upset, so they fasted all night. And in their next life, they were awarded for observing the full fast on the Chaturdasi. Unknowingly, against, odds, they observed Nrsimha Chaturdasi. So she became an apsara. This is from this document that's spelled improperly in the heading that you should have. If you didn't find out how you can get it because it's circulated. It's just a translation from Hari Bhakti Vilas. She became an apsara and she went back to Godhead after her apsara life. He became Prahlad and he'll go back to Godhead after the Prahlad life. That's the previous life. There's yet one more, a different previous life story, and it's very similar. It's not exactly the same reference, but it's similar. Nrsimha Chaturdasi fasting from Brihad Nrsimha Purana, a fallen Brahmana and a prostitute merged into the Supreme, and then again took birth as Prahlad and his wife. Little different. She didn't become an apsara, but she became his wife. Thus, how important it is to observe Nrsimha Chaturdasi. Hint. Nrsingadev's appearance day is coming up very soon. And observing, so what should the observance be if you can't do the Nrsimha Chaturdasi full fast? Something in honor of. It's a little bit like during our discussion yesterday evening with the devotees from China on Akshaya Tritiya. What should we do? What is some simple thing that we can do to get the benefit of Akshaya Tritiya? Because it's an auspicious, triple auspicious day. So it's something. Consciously, now this was unconsciously, this prostitute business was by coincidence or by divine arrangement, but not intentional. So if something intentional is done, it's make some offering, do something, sing prayers to the Lord Nrsingadev. There's lots and lots and lots of nice prayers, and observe, make offerings of something, and you offer and distribute Nrsimha Prasadam. Vidya Jagannath Swami is a nice deity of Lord Nrsingadev. In the last two homes I was in, the devotee, at last home in Edison, New Jersey, he has a deity about 3 times as big as yours. He's big. So big doesn't mean he's more powerful. Just he's a big deity. And in the home prior to that was in Virginia. Some of you may know Shankadari and his good wife. So their deity is at least twice as big as your deity. Big, and it's come before the deity, and it was very powerful. Of course, Lord Nrsingadev is powerful, and the deity is very powerful, and so offer to Lord Nrsingadev, and it doesn't have to be a deity form, but it's nice, a deity form, and make some nice offerings, and offer nice prayers. Read the prayers, the prayers. Okay, I'm not going to go there because I'll get too carried away. The prayers of Prahlad are awesome. And the teachings of Prahlad are also awesome. So yesterday, we also had this discussion, compliments of one nice devotee who was sitting over here. You know, what happens if you have other feelings besides the feelings of pure devotion? So the discussion that we had prompted, where is she? Prematrangani sent me this little drawing, Jagadatri. Many of you know Jagadatri, right? Jagatarini. Excuse me. I make mistakes. Jagatarini makes little drawings on leaves in Vrindavan. So this is a photograph that she circulated. One can give up all material attachment when one is able to see the param, or the superior quality of things. And then she wrote some other text. I didn't put it all. Amidst the turmoil of life, I found a leaf that reminded me of our purpose or our process. It is for us about keeping the iron in the fire. If the fire is going out or burning low, it is about stoking it or adding fuel. Remember we had that discussion? There is another plane of existence where we belong, that we are trying for. It may be hard to remember that, especially when we are seriously involved here in this world and with our families, but it is wise to stop and hear a little about what is actually within us, how to recover ourselves from merely rushing along between birth and death. It's not poetry, but it's poetry. Again, and once again, stop here and wish we were able to see through our devotional eyes and hear through our devotional ears about what is there. Wishing, or in other words, desiring, is our only task. Krishna does the rest. That's Jagatrini. She's a very elevated Vaishnavi, very dear to Srila Prabhupada, Vaishnavi, and dear to now so many Vaishnavis, Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. As we go further, so I'm ready to plunge into verse number 2. We're going to do a little review of verse number 1, and because it's such a nice verse, such an often quoted verse. But before we go there, there's something that's in the introduction to this chapter. The reference to Mundaka Upanishad, many of you know, Nayam Atma Pravachine Labhyasta Na Medya na Bahuda Sure Chutena. One cannot become self-realized simply by having an academic education, by presenting lectures in an erudite way, pravachanena labhya, or by being an intelligent scientist who discovers many wonderful things. I found out by traveling around in Edison how the town of Edison got the name. Thomas Alva Edison discovered a light bulb. And they have a monument that's like, it's a humongous thing. It's just a light bulb. That's the monument. And the place where he did his experiment to show how the first light bulb. And he probably made a few dollars, and he probably had a career. He certainly, they named the town after him. But it's not how you go back to Godhead. Or, it's nice. We take advantage of light bulbs, right? Complaining about the work that he did, but One cannot become self-realized simply by. So here's another. We'll say it together. Nayam atma pravachane labhyo namedhaya na bahoda nachrena yam eva shash vishnute te na labhyas tasyaishva etma vrishate na tanum svam. The Supreme Lord is not attained. This is a more explicit translation. The Supreme Lord is not attained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, nor even by much hearing. The Lord is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such person, he manifests his own form. Two sources. So back for those who weren't with us, and even those that were with us, the beginning of chapter 6 of Canto 7, the end of chapter 5, they tried, Hiranyakashipu tried in many ways to have Prahlad destroyed. When he couldn't destroy Prahlad, the verse says, the text says, he became fearful. Chandamarka said, no worries, we'll work him over. Let him join our Asura Kula, and we'll teach him how to be a nice Asura. Don't worry about it. So when all attempts were failed, Prahlad was sent back to school, learned about the royal household duties. When Prahlad's friends would call him for playing, in the absence of their teachers, they went out to take a lunch break or something, attend to some household duties. He would teach them about the uselessness of materialistic way of life. So the verse that we discussed this morning, Prahlad says to Lord Nrsimhadev, you sent me to this world to teach the ways of pure devotional service. So part of the ways of pure devotional service is to let go of the attachments to the non-devotional life or the materialistic life. So this is the verse that we discussed yesterday. Let's say it together. Komara acharet pragyo dharman bhagavataniha durlabham manusham janma tad api adravam arthadam. Color-coded, of course. Prahlada Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent, just not this evening, but tomorrow evening, Krishna permitting, we're going to be discussing this word pragya, like enough, maybe too much. But sufficiently intelligent, what does that mean? Sufficiently intelligent. One who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life, in other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is durlabham, most rarely achieved, and api adravam, although temporary, like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one. I'm looking at Ragamika because this was her question. Why is it taking so long? Complete perfection. So that's the target. That's the GPS destination. Complete perfection. So how potent is even a moment of sincere, nice adjective, devotional service? Even a slight amount is very powerful. Very, very powerful. So here's the first 5 verses. We're going to be discussing a few of the verses. this evening, but verse 1 we already heard. Komara acharat pragyo, right from one's childhood, an intelligent person, pragya, dharman bhagavatani should perform devotional service in this life. Because the human form of life is rarely achieved, durlabham manusham janma, tadapi adurvam arthadam, although temporary, is very effective for bhakti. We discussed this yesterday. It's a very important verse, so we covered it again this evening. And here is text number 2. The human form of life affords one a chance to return home, back to Godhead. Therefore, every living entity, especially in the human form of life, must engage in devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Now, others that aren't in the human form of life, they're depending upon human form of life to engage them. Like the dog of Shivananda Saint dog that was chanting Hare Krishna because Lord Chaitanya was inducing him to chant Hare Krishna. And when the dog chanted Hare Krishna, he threw him some coconut pulp. Hare Krishna. And Shivananda Saint, seeing the dog, of course he came to see Lord Chaitanya, but when he saw the dog, he's paying obeisance to the dog. Who was the dog before he was chanting Hare Krishna? He was a street dog. Now, who was that street dog before he became Shivananda Saint's little companion, taking prasadam and hanging out with the devotees? Who knows? Very important. But it doesn't have to have a prior something. He just was the recipient of mercy. So that's part of the duty of those in the human form of life, to help others that in whatever the form of life to receive bhakti. This devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most beloved, the master of the soul, and the well-wisher of all other living entities, all other living beings. Now, there's verses later that Prahlad says the same thing. This is, in his prayers to Lord Vishnu, he says essentially the same thing. One of the prayers he recites, because he was, as you know, Lord Nrsingadev was still roaring. He was still angry after killing Hiranyakashipu and all of his buddies. And the place was a bloody mess. And it was roaring, and everyone was afraid, and even the goddess of fortune. And so Lord Brahma induced, he appeared for you, so you give it a try. Under the order of Brahma, he came forward and said, I'm not afraid of your blood-soaked mane or your ears that are standing erect like wedge-like. You know, when a cat or something like that is chasing its prey, they move very slowly, and their ears are like radar. They're up and then pounce. So I'm not afraid of your garland of intestines, and I'm not afraid of all this, because all of that is meant for the non-devotees, and you appear for your devotees. So, please withdraw your fear. Your anger is producing fear. The demigods, they're afraid. I'm not afraid, but because I understand it's meant for the non-devotees. And then he makes a statement, well, I think it's going to be included coming up. When he appears, when Lord Nrsingadev appears, it's for the benefit of everyone. The benefit of the demons and this goes back to an earlier chapter 4, is the Lord partial or impartial? Is he like, buddies with the devotees, and he treats the non-devotees in a mean way? He's impartial. He's just reciprocating with, as they regard him, yetamam prapadyante, he reciprocates. So devotional service to, this last line, Priya Atmeshvara Suhrit. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord is natural because he, the Supreme Lord, is the seed-giving father of all living entities. So, as Prabhupada would sometimes say, the relationship between father and son is quite natural. When Bhishma Dev was reunited with his father, the father hadn't seen Bhishma Dev, it was Deva Vrata. He hadn't seen his son for 32 years. But right away, Santanu and his son became very close. Natural affinities, father and son. Natural affinity. And they're like, with children, and they're in a very super dependent situation, there's a natural affinity for obvious reasons. But even in this adult status, very natural affection. And so they develop strong affection. So much so that the son, Devavrata, was ready to sacrifice everything for his father, so his father could be married again to this nice lady, the daughter of a fisherman. So he's the seed-giving father of all living entities. Devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu is the most beloved, the master of the soul. He's the Prabhu of all Prabhus, the well-wisher of all living beings. Priya Atmeshvara Suhrit. No, there's no difficulty in reestablishing, this is Prabhupada's commentary. There's no difficulty in reestablishing the natural, intimate relationship between Narayana and the jivas, just like that of a father and a son. So devotional service is very natural. Very natural. I mean, there are things with devotional service that may seem uncomfortable, tapa, some austerity. But the austerity is actually the healthy condition, and the other way, the lack of control of the senses and irregulation and all those other things, that's the diseased condition. The healthy condition is the natural condition. So to restore his health, there's some restrictions to get health back. Here's the verse that I was referencing. This is from the 9th chapter. This is prayers. Your appearance in this fearsome form is your pastime for your own pleasure. Such an incarnation, this is a direct quote from Prahlada to Lord Nrsimhadev in his prayers. Such an incarnation is always meant for the protection and improvement of the universe. It's re-establishing, underlining, and reasserting that the Supreme Lord is not partial. Although the drama, there's always, the good guys and the bad guys. Good drama has the good guys and the bad guys. The forces of good and evil. I mean, not always like that, but almost always like that. And there's a struggle, and where the good guys are hoping the good guys win. And sometimes it looks like it's not going that way, it's going the other way, and good stories end with the good guys win. Because it's not the good guys win, the personality of Godhead prevails. And gives his support. So now comes practical things that devotees' lives go through. Sometimes, you can list of names of wonderful devotees that are enduring hardships. I don't need to mention some names of persons in the room that are undergoing hardships. And wow, So where's Krishna's kindness? But those devotees that are faithful, they understand. Again, just Tamahara and his wife. This and that and the other, the other, the other. He was sharing with me. Mukhya is regularly. He was GBC here, and so he, for 10 years, was regularly the GBC of. Imagine being the GBC of Mukhya. She's so competent. She's so amazing. And he was her GBC, and their personalities are obviously different personalities, but, completely compatible. And then there was Mantrini, and Mantrini had close. So he was sharing all these nice things. But his health, she's been asking him to give class, but he can't because he's having this hardship with his health condition that's severe. So where's the protection? Or fill in the blank of other difficulties that devotees have to endure. So where's the protection? That there's that side, and then in the good guys and the bad guys, and the good guys win. At least in most good stories, the good guys, good and evil struggle. Because the personality of Godhead, he wants those who are living a life of the mode of goodness to experience the connection with the personality of Godhead, that he's there, and he'll. Two nice examples. Well, here's a nice example from the Bhagavatam. There's a commentary. I can't remember, Vishwanath maybe, when Prahlada is being pushed off a cliff. There's a nice painting of he's being pushed off the cliff. And Lord Vishnu is at the bottom, but the commentary says Lord Vishnu didn't show himself to Prahlad right away because he wanted to see what's Prahlad going to do. Is he going to scream? He just free fall. And then Lord Nrsimhadev caught him. Fearless. And not foolish, but fearless. Here's a nice little Prabhupada story on this same point. And we all have our experience, or have those who we're close with that have such experience. Krishna will sometimes test our determination and sincerity. So I very clearly remember Henry Street, Brooklyn, New York, Prabhupada seated up on a nice big Vyasasan, and somehow I got a front row seat, and looking up at Prabhupada, and he's explaining this principle. And I can't remember the whole lecture. I could probably go back and find, what was the rest of the whole lecture. But the point that stood out specifically, Krishna will test our sincerity sometimes. He examines our sincerity. And Prabhupada made this nice expression. For example, you say to Krishna, Krishna, I am yours. And Krishna will say, really? Are you sure? What about a little hardship? And his voice went like that. And the devotee says to Krishna, you may do with me whatever you like, I am yours. And then Krishna may say, maybe they do want me. What about a little sense gratification? The voice went like that. And then Prabhupada turned his head away and lifted his arm and said, no, I only want you. So Krishna may then say, all right, they really want me. Let me give myself to this devotee. Now, it's not always so straightforward like that, but the principle is sometimes, it's not at all times we're put on into some situations like that, but sometimes to examine the sincerity of a particular devotee, Krishna may examine how much do they really want me? And that's why this, expression from the first verse, this one, even a moment of pure devotional service, sincere devotional service. When Krishna has examined, and like with Prahlad, certainly he's going to get examined. Or a very nice scriptural example is Bali Maharaj. You all know the story of Bali Maharaj. And Shukracharya advised Bali Maharaj, don't go for it. He's asking you for 3 paces of land. Vishnu's tricky. Don't promise. Because once he gives the promise, he'll keep the promise. So don't make that promise, because he'll trick you. But because he was a devotee at heart, although he's in the family of Asuras, he's the great-grandson of Prahlada Maharaj. He said yes. He went against the instruction of his seminal guru, the guru of the demons. Shukracharya means seminal guru. And 1, 2, and then the 3rd step, and where you didn't give me 3 steps, you gave me only 2. So very clever. He put your other foot in my head. So, and after he gave his head, he surrendered all his kingdom, his everything, the 3 worlds, and his head at the feet of Vamanadev. He tied him up like a criminal. You know the story. And when he tied him up like a criminal, there was this hubbub. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? He surrendered everything. He's treating him like a criminal. Prahlad was invited. Prahlad came and said, very good. And then Vishnu said, Vamana said, I just wanted to show everyone, just see what an exalted devotee is, Bali Maharaj. Even this and that, no protest, no complaint, no, hey, what's going on, like all you other people are saying. He's fine. Because, why? Because he had shelter. And the Lord Vamana wanted to show, just see. So it's like he didn't need to test him because he didn't know, but he wanted the world to see. So he, in such an extreme way, and not only I am dear to him, not only he is dear to me, but I am dear to him, but he's dear to me. So I'm going to give a kingdom with more opulence than he has now, and I'm going to be his gatekeeper. And anybody that tries to get in, I got some strong legs here. I'll give them a boot, and they won't be able to get in. And Ravana tried to get the boot. It's in Ramayana. When Ravana heard Bali is, big warrior, so he tried to go and have battle with him. Vamana gave him the boot. So the way of pure devotional service has its challenges, and the human form of life has its opportunity in the midst of those challenges. And finally, because I see all these devotees in the audience, and this is Alachua. I'm expecting some lively conversation. I'm prepared. Let's see what happens. It's not getting better. The surcharged with opposition is Prabhupada's language, and Kali Yuga gets more opposition and more opposition. And it can be, depends on where you are in the world, and it depends on even within the world, time, place, circumstance, and sanction of super soul, and so many other things. But we're in a country where there's freedom, but sometimes that freedom makes for more opposition. In some places there's more opposition, and the people that are oppressed by the opposition, when they get some water in the desert, they're very enthusiastic. Some of you were with us yesterday evening, this Zoom class with the Chinese devotees. They have so far the Chinese government hasn't cracked down on it. They have a Zoom class with an organized, they call it Voice of Vaikuntha, VOV, Voice of Vaikuntha. And they have different speakers. So every other week I speak something. And it's my choice, but there were commonly there's 360 people on that call. And you heard the questions. Most of the questions were pretty good questions. Sometimes they're, irrelevant questions. But they're very enthusiastic, despite the oppression. I know some devotees, even, the situation is what it is, they go on the street and they distribute books. That's a big risk. It's a big risk. But somehow or other, with, the spirit of Krishna will protect me, there they are, in a country that's oppressive, specifically oppressive towards religion. Anyway, there's difficulty, and it's not getting better. And it gets worse and worse and worse. But the good facility, of course, the chanting of the holy name, but also the availability of Srimad Bhagavatam. There wasn't availability of Srimad Bhagavatam before. And guess who made that facility? For the world, in the darkness of ignorance of Kali Yuga, to receive the light of the Bhagavad. Our founder Acharya. And along with everything else, if he had just been a literary person, that would have been a fantastic contribution. But everything else. What a empowered personality. It's easy to glorify Prabhupada. So let's see. Tomorrow we'll continue, and then over the weekend a little bit further of sections of Prahlad's teachings to his classmates. See if there's some discussion. Yes.
Maharaj, I thought you were going to explain about pragya, the sufficient.
No, that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
What you said.
Yeah, I said. I misspoke. I do make mistakes.
Also, that's coming next verse. I was just curious. Am I the maker of my destiny, or this life is pretty?
Well, that's sanctioned, but yes, we're making choices. That's in that sense the architect of your destiny. But it's not boundless. There's certain limitations, the modes of nature and karma, but limitations. So, but according to those choices we make within the modes of nature, we're creating, in one sense, via our choice, and then it's sanctioned. The facilities are arranged for by the impartial Supreme Lord.
Are you promoting laziness? By
No.
saying it is destined already settled?
No. It's not saying like that. That's not what it's saying. Thank you for the question. What it's saying is, I'm making choices. Supposing I choose to not make a choice. That's a choice. Mm-hmm. And so then I just stand still and tread water. That's what I do. And that's a choice. And then there's consequences. So I'm creating the consequences by the choice I'm making. Now it's not, I'm the creator of the consequence. In the sense that I can't I can't facilitate the choice, but Krishna sanctions, upadrashta anumanta. So he permits, and that's by his permitting, our destiny is secured. So we're not promoting. Yes, Ramia. Here comes the microphone. It was 2 days ago.
Okay, 2 days ago. I'm sorry. The first verse that you read said, "The slightest amount of devotional service you can achieve.
Sincere qualifier.
So the slight implies that Krishna is giving a lot of mercy.
Yeah, it also implies that sincere devotional service is very powerful. Both.
I'm just thinking maybe more mercy, if even a slight amount.
More mercy if what?
If it's only a slight amount of sincere service.
Why do you say that? I'm trying to understand your question.
I'm saying that because others may have a bigger
Misinterpret.
effort, a more significant effort, but sometimes someone does a slight amount, and it seems to imply that Krishna is giving a greater amount of mercy to that person.
No, it doesn't imply that. It implies that even, a grain of sand amount is extremely powerful. What to speak of? A life of dedication. Perfect, more perfect, most perfect kind of an explanation. But, her question, you missed it 2 days ago. Ragatmika was saying, why does it take so long? That was her question. Because I'm doing a slight amount of devotional service. I'm eligible for perfection, right? Yes, eligibility. But then we had that topic we discussed. I don't need to repeat it. So it doesn't. You're reading. I don't read it the way that you read it. That he's encouraging, or one might say, "Hey, perfection, slight amount. I'm sincere. Check me. I'm sincere. I put on my tilak this morning, and
No, my reading was more like Krishna's choice.
well, that's also there. That it's effort and mercy. The two things. Mother Yasoda binding Damodar. It's effort and mercy. Effort is insufficient. When Krishna wants, he can make himself, and that's something that we heard somewhere. When Krishna so desires, he can reveal himself to anyone. It's a nice topic. I'll go there a little bit. But it is, you go a little bit, then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. In Madhurya Kandambani, I'm sure you're familiar with the title and the book, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur raises the question, how does bhakti begin? We had a little bit of discussion of Gyata, Sukriti, and those kinds of things that facilitates bhakti to begin. But it doesn't create bhakti, it just facilitates bhakti to begin. So, I got distracted with the hand signals and wait a minute. You want to interject?
Curious, bring an example like Prabhupada says, this widow that goes to Jamuna every day and bring water, and Prabhupada says that she will go back home, back to Godhead.
Yeah.
So she is endeavoring. Is that understood that she also got mercy
Of
because she is
course.
persisting?
Of course.
But Krishna didn't appear to her
That's
and say, I'm
okay.
giving you blessing.
If you go back to Godhead, you're golden.
It's not proven yet. Prabhupada said she will go back.
Okay,
But she's not, I didn't interview her. I don't know where I'm just curious, how does it really relate both mercy and the endeavor? She's only persisting, but Prabhupada says she will go back because every day she's serving, bringing water from
her eligibility combined with the nature of Krishna's mercy. Now we remember that the Madhurya Kandamini point. Thank you. You helped me remember. In Madhurya Kandamini, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur explains that Krishna's mercy is self-manifesting. There's no requirement or precondition, and then he manifests his mercy. His nature is merciful, and he may, upon the exhibition of that mercy, he may appear before the devotee, and he may not before the lady that's fetching water, or someone, or somebody, the nice, sincere devotee. Not everyone's going to experience what Prahlada experienced, and Lord Nrsimhadev coming out of a pillar, or etc. So, as the Supreme Lord is, his mercy is self-manifesting. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur goes on to explain that similarly, the mercy of his mercy expansion, Bhakti Devi, who is an expansion of Srimati Radharani, is also, according to her own desire, she manifests within the heart of the devotee. She decides to give herself, or a proportion of herself, through the medium of a devotee, and empowers the devotee. All this all long description, the Madhyama, but she is Bhakti Devi, and she decides. There's no prompt, there's no precondition, as with Krishna, as so also Krishna's mercy expansion, Bhakti Devi.
But Maharaj,
Yeah.
Kevin has to train himself to submit yourself, then you're giving him mercy, not randomly you giving on the street.
Well, that's you. That's not Krishna and Bhakti Devi. So say the same thing in contrast to what you're saying. Is it possible that an unqualified person can receive Krishna's mercy or receive bhakti from one who is carrying bhakti? It's the mercy of the bhakta, the giver of bhakti. It's not dependent upon. Now, eligibility, we had this discussion 2 days ago, eligibility, but unknowingly taking prasadam. Just another nice pastime with Prabhupada, but in Brooklyn, one morning walk in Brooklyn Battery Park, there was this, as you told the story, Prabhupada was walking and he saw a lake and took a beeline right across from the path right over to the lake. And as we came over to the lake, the ducks came because they thought they're going to get something. So he asked, does anybody have prasadam? Somebody had some prasadam in their bag. Give them some prasadam. And they were quacking and they gave some prasadam and the prasadam was gone. So those ducks that got prasadam, they didn't think they're going to get prasadam. They thought they're going to get something to eat. But because they got prasadam unknowingly, like this unknowingly engaging in Nishringa Chaturdasi Vrata, or Nishringa Vrata, unknowingly there's potency and there's benefit for that person that knowingly or unknowingly received prasadam or receives Krishna's mercy in one form or another form. We discussed this a couple of days ago. So that's how bhakti, that's the unknowing devotional service that is also devotional service. The congregational chanting that we like and Krishna likes, that people may not like, but Krishna likes. And so unknowingly, they're getting enormous spiritual, immeasurable spiritual benefit. And we have a choice to do or to not do. So we have to receive by hearing and chanting and sadhana, and we also have to give what we received. Nice process. Rami, are you okay with your topic? Are you ready to move? We can move on? With reservation, yes. Okay.
I mean, if we had some.
Drill on it some more. Okay. Yes.
Oh, excuse me. Where it says even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. How would you define that sincere?
Well, that's a nice question. When Prabhupada was asked that question, here's his reply. Everyone knows what a sincerity is. So, whether your behavior and your speech are in alignment with the most intrinsic part of your life, your heart, or your value system, and there's complete alignment. Purposeful, conscious choosing that Krishna, so in sincere devotional services, that I want that Krishna will be pleased, and nothing else. No, most of us have some sincerity and not squeaky clean yet. So it's not pure devotional service yet. But sincere is that's what sincere is. The intention, focused, exclusive intention that Krishna should be pleased. We probably all have our moments of that kind of focus, and even moving in that direction, that's sincere. And Krishna sees and reciprocates. How's that? Okay. Oh, assembly of wonderful Vaishnavas. Other topics you'd like to discuss? And we can move on. You already had prasadam, right? Fantastic.
Pure devotional service measured by how pure the devotee is.
How pure? How do you measure how pure the devotee is? You put him up to a meter, and
I'm not sure, but yeah, I didn't know if pure devotional service could be done by somebody who wasn't pure.
well, that's most of us, right?
Yeah.
So you know the answer, but I'll remind you what you already know, because you're putting me on the position you can just say what you already know. What's it? Rupa Goswami's definition of pure devotional service. Anyabhilashya shunyam, jnanakarmadhya navritam. This is the key. This is the heart, is anukulyena Krishna anushilana. Anushilana means following the behavior and conduct, anushilana, of the exalted soul. Supposing I'm not there yet. Supposing you and I and some of the rest of us are not there yet. But we're following the footsteps, or following the speech and conduct of those that are there. Krishna anushilana. It is specific that Krishna should be pleased. Krishna anushilana. And cultivating or moving in that direction, that's the heart of the pure devotional service. Is the same question as back here. Sincerity, that Krishna should be pleased. And the prior part is the exclusive.
Right.
And then there's the inclusive. That we had this discussion, external, internal, at the class the other morning in the temple. External, internal.
Right.
So the intention, my purpose is, I'm not there yet, but I'm following those that have attained that position, the pure devotees, and I'm trying to follow with my heart. That's at the heart of pure devotional service, that Krishna should be pleased. And just stay with it. Even I'm not there yet, stay with it.
Right.
That's the cultivation, the practice of. So there's the sadhana stage, and then there's the sadhya stage, the attainment of the mature sadhana. But you stay with proper sadhana, sincerely performed, and that's pure devotional service. not yet mature.
Okay. All right.
It's a nice topic. It's a very nice topic.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Let me ask you a question to help amplify.
Yeah.
This is a multiple choice question. A tulsi is a seed. B. Tulsi is a seed that is being nourished by water and sunlight. C. That would be. C. The tulsi is when 2 leaves come out of that seed and boop, and that's a tulsi. Or then, the next one is when it's, full-blown tulsi tree. Right. And then there's tulsi manjaris, and then there's more seeds that are produced by the tulsi, or flowers, and seeds that come from the flowers, and more tulsis. Right. And the answer is all of them. It's all tulsi. So it's different stages of maturing. So to pure devotional service, back to the definition, it may be not mature. It may be mature, but anushilana, following in the shila, the character, conduct, speech of those that are there, that's pure devotional service. No, with the preamble, devoid of karma and gyan. Now, he wants to say something further, but I want to add one more thing before he says something further. At the end, it's kind of a sneak preview. I imagine some devotees here are going to spend some time, aside from when we're having discussions like this, reading this 7th canto, because it's Nrsimha Chaturdasi coming. So the final 5 chapters of 7th canto are dealing with devotional service that's not pure. It's devotional service that's pure, that's showcasing Prahlad. And then comes Yudhishthira's question to Narada Muni, what about, how do you get there? Supposing you're not pure yet. So then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes that there's devotional service that is pure, and then there's 2 other categories of devotional service, and it's also devotional service, but devotional service is mixed. And thus the Varnashram system is the topic of the final 5 chapters. Mixed. Karma again. And then it has this and that mixture along with bhakti. So somebody over here wanted to say something? No. So, Pran, and then we're going to end.
I was thinking, Maharaj.
Oh, Mataji in the back. Okay.
Madhurya Kadambini Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, also Bhaktivinoda Thakur emphasized that Madhyamadhikari, Ishare Todo Dineshu, Balisheshu, Dishashu, Prema Maitri Kripapaksha, because they have a discriminating power.
Yes.
They are, the pure bhakti begins from there. They actually can give pure bhakti to others. Kanishta cannot give.
No, it's not exactly, they cannot give. Specifically, my understanding is as follows. Power of attorney, that's a modern term, but the power to give bhakti is given to the madhya because the madhyama is enjoined by scripture to discriminate.
Yes.
And because they're enjoined to discriminate, you give over here, you don't give over there. And the blame, the dosha, the fault of being partial is not stuck on the personality of Godhead. If you want to stick it on somebody, it's the madhyama. But he's given the power of attorney. He can give or not give. No, your statement specifically is the Kanishta cannot. They're not enjoined to give bhakti, but they're if they're Kanishta bhaktas, I know Kanishta bhaktas that give bhakti. Well, do you know any Kanishta bhaktas? I know some Kanishta bhaktas. Some Kanishta bhaktas may be engaged in book distribution or Harinam or Prasadam distribution, and they're giving bhakti. They're definitely giving bhakti. But, the specific one to empower bhakti shakti is the madhyama. Okay.
Yeah. My question goes back to this second text that you discussed tonight.
You want number 6, text number 2?
Yes. And no, it was about one of the reasons that Nrsimhadev appeared, and then one of the reasons is to improve the universe.
Okay, that's what you're referring to. That's from chapter 9. This one.
Yes. Yes. And
This is a translation from the verse itself. It's not commentary.
this.
This is Prahlad saying about Lord Nrsimhadev.
Yes, and so when he's saying that one of the reasons he's come is in this incarnation is for the protection.
Well, when he look at the paintings ripping Hiranyakashipu
Right.
apart.
Protection, I understand, but the improvement of the universe is my question.
Why not?
What does that mean?
Well, light in the place of darkness. Bhakti, the attraction towards the all attractive, is what he creates that situation. He creates pastimes and does teachings and things like that for the improvement of the universe. Because it's a dark place. Okay. Thank you all very much for coming. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Premanandi.